Part 29. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 281. Ahem. Zhang Honggao touched the bridge of his nose, quickly closed his mouth and said no more. Su Yang couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. He didn't expect such a thing to happen. Happy to be a father. He has had to endure all kinds of hardships to raise her for more than 20 years, which is indeed miserable. Great nephew. At this moment, Shi Yunfei said with embarrassment, this is probably what Dr. Zhang said. Although Shi Xian is not my son, I still have some feelings for him after raising him for so many years. I don't know what to do with him. If you want to kill him, then just kill him. Just pretend that this person has never existed in the world. At this point, it was obvious that Shi Yunfei was a little sad. Non-vegetation, ruthless practice makes perfect. Not to mention a person, even a kitten will have feelings after being raised for a long time. But Shi Xian, after all, is a bastard and must not be kept. Otherwise, where will the dignity of the Fengchan land be put? Just as Shi Yunfei said, kill, then kill. Uncle. Seeing Shi Yunfei's low mood, Su Yang felt pity for Shi Yunfei for a moment, so he recognized this uncle and comforted him. I guess you have more than one heir. There is no need to feel sad for outsiders. Haha, that's right. Hearing this, Shi Yunfei laughed heartily and said, I have 3 sons. Although they are not talented in martial arts, they are well behaved and obedient. My eldest nephew, you are the comforter. They are much better than some people. As he said this, Shi Yunfei glanced at Zhang Honggao, as if he meant something. Zhang Honggao pretended not to see it, laughed sarcastically and remained silent. Su Yang smiled softly, then looked at Chu Fuxian with cold eyes and said, Uncle, get out of the way first. This man broke into the Su family and tried to kill me. He must not stay. I will kill him first and then we can have a good chat. Great nephew. Hearing this, Shi Yunfei also looked at Chu Fuxian, his true energy surged all over his body, and he said coldly, leave this person to me. He brought shame on me, stole my woman, and made me miss my father's love for more than 20 years. I want to kill him with my own hands. Well, okay. Su Yang nodded and did not refuse. Thank you. Shi Yunfei clasped his fists, then turned around and walked to Chu Fuxian, saying sternly, Chu Fuxian, you are still blocking your blood vessels. It seems that you really want to live, but unfortunately, I can't let you live. Brother Shi. Chu Fuxian opened his eyes and said weakly, don't kill me. What happened back then has nothing to do with me. If you want to blame it, blame Du Hongjin. She seduced me first, and I couldn't hold it back for a moment, so I made a big mistake. Chu Fuxian was extremely frightened and continued, after you got married, it was she who secretly found me and wanted to renew our relationship. I couldn't control my former lover, so I maintained an underground relationship with her for many years. Brother Shi, we are all men, you should be able to understand me. Chu Fuxian begged, please don't kill me. I promise not to tell these things. I will save the face of you and Fengchan land and not let anyone know about my affair with that bitch Du Hongjin. You. When Shi Yunfei heard this, he became even more angry, with a clouded face. Originally, I thought that you and Du Hongjin made mistakes before getting married, but I didn't expect that in the days after Du Hongjin and I got married, you would often have trysts. No wonder Du Hongjin doesn't want to have any more children for me. No wonder she leaves the place of Zen every month. No wonder she never takes the initiative to ask for it from me. On the contrary, every time I come to her, she refuses for various reasons. Turn out to be. So you are. He. Okay. At this point, Shi Yunfei looked like he was crazy, stared at Chu Fuxian angrily, and said sternly, you bitch, I want you to die miserably. Shi Yunfei. Chu Fuxian saw that Shi Yunfei had a strong murderous intention towards him, so he stopped begging for mercy and did the opposite, saying disdainfully, "Yes, so what if I just slept with your wife? You loser, why are you so arrogant in front of me? If I hadn't been injured by Su Yang, do you think you were qualified to be my opponent?" Chu Fuxian said coldly, "Huh, if you are a man, Shi Yunfei, you can wait until I recover from my injury and then we can have a fair fight. Now I take advantage of others' danger. I look down on you." Puff. Just as Chu Fuxian was talking, Shi Yunfei took action, and his true energy condensed in his palm, like a sharp blade, which directly cut through Chu Fuxian's neck. Before he finished speaking, Chu Fuxian fell straight down and turned into a corpse. "Su Yang is my nephew. If he hurts you, I will take action to harvest him." "Why not?" Shi Yunfei glanced at Chu Fuxian's body with disdain and murmured, "Also, even if there is fair competition, you are not my opponent, but I don't want you to live any longer, even for a second." After killing Chu Fuxian, Shi Yunfei looked at Su Yang and said with a calm smile, "Nephew, thank you for what happened today. Thank you for helping me deal with this couple of bitches." "Uncle, you're welcome. They are coming to kill me and they are also my enemies." Su Yang smiled softly. "Anyway, you did me a favor, so consider it a favor that my uncle owes you." Shi Yunfei smiled heartily and said, "When you arrive at the place of Zen, my uncle will treat you to a drink." "Haha, okay." Su Yang smiled, then changed his tone and said, "Uncle, how has my mother been living in the land of Fengchan for the past 5 years?" Shi Yunfei sighed and said, "Hey, Yuyan has such a stubborn temper. Even after being grounded for 5 whole years, she didn't want to bow to her father and stayed in the room all day. I haven't seen her smile for a long time." "What? Grounded?" Su Yang suddenly became anxious, gritted his teeth and asked, "Why did Shi Han ground my mother? What did she do wrong? How dare you call Shi Han? He is your grandfather, no matter how old or young," Shi Yunfei scolded him sternly. "Grandpa?" Su Yang sneered and said, "Haha, I understand some things. He took my mother away from Jiangbei forcibly and separated our family of 4. What kind of grandfather is he? Why?" The severity in Shi Yunfei's eyes disappeared, and he sighed again, "What my father did is indeed excessive in a normal family. However, the place of Zen is one of the 3 major forces in the ancient martial arts world. Yuyan is the successor carefully cultivated by her father. Her responsibilities are extremely important." Shi Yunfei looked at Su Yang and persuaded him, "In short, it is not convenient to talk about many things now, but your grandpa is by no means a hard-hearted person. He is just cold-faced and warm-hearted. Su Yang, don't bear any grudge against him." "I'm too lazy to hold grudges." Su Yang showed displeasure and said instead, "Uncle, I want to see my mother. Can you arrange for me to go to the place of Zen? The sooner the better." "I'm afraid that won't work." Shi Yunfei shook his head and said, "Father gave an order that no one except his own family is allowed to approach Yuyan." Su Yang frowned and said, "Zhang Yuyan, Shi Yuyan is my mother, am I an outsider?" Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 282. Father has not recognized you yet. Currently, he does not recognize you as his grandson. Shi Yunfei smiled bitterly and said, "So, to the place of Zen, you are an outsider. But nephew, my uncle recognizes you. You are so talented and your future achievements are limitless. In time, when father figures it out, he will recognize you." Shi Yunfei comforted. "Don't you recognize me as your grandson?" He. Shi Han. "You took my mother away by force, put her under house arrest, and separated our family of 4. I'm not sure whether I recognize you or not, but you've decided first?" Su Yang sneered in his heart. He didn't have a good impression of Shi Han, his grandfather. Okay, great nephew. At this time, Shi Yunfei said, a lot of things happened tonight. I need to calm down for a while. You forcibly improved your strength, leapfrogged to kill Du Hongjin, and severely injured Chu Fuxian. Your body must not be able to bear it. Let's call it a night. Uncle, I will leave first. I will observe your grandfather's attitude. When he is not so angry, I will help him get involved and invite you to come to the place of Zen. Farewell. Shi Yunfei smiled softly, then turned to leave. Wait a moment. Su Yang glanced at the two corpses on the ground and asked, Uncle, what should I do with the corpses? It's up to you. It has nothing to do with me. It's best to crush them to ashes and leave them dead without any body parts. Shi Yunfei left a word, and his figure quickly disappeared into the night. Haha, this is easy. Shifen, I have to say that you are in good hands again. The two late Tianzong disciples, tut. Su Yang smiled, then with a thought, he put the bodies of Du Hongjin and Chu Fuxian into the storage ring. Master, what a good idea. This scene was seen by Zhang's Honggaiu. The old miracle doctor looked respectful, and then asked, Master, the ring on your hand should be a space of its own, so it can store things, right? Su Yang did not deny it and said calmly, aren't you surprised? I'm a little surprised, but I'm lucky enough to have seen this kind of treasure. Zhang's Honggaiu stroked his beard and said with a smile, this thing is called Sumina ring. It was produced more than 2,000 years ago and was made by Qi practitioners in the pre-Qin dynasty. With the extinction of Qi practitioners in the pre-Qin dynasty, no one in later generations can refine such things, and there are very few Sumina rings preserved in later generations. Zhang's Honggaiu continued, I have lived for so many years and witnessed a lot of history, but I have only seen 7 people possess the Sumirana ring. Each of them is a big shot with extraordinary means. Palace Master, you can inherit the Sumirana ring and possess a terrifying treasure. I believe your origin is not as simple as it seems. Zhang's Honggaiu looked at Su Yang and smiled softly, Palace Master, am I right? Sumirana precepts? A product of more than 2,000 years? Excuse me. I refined this myself a few days ago. It has been about half a month since I was reborn. Although I have not seen cultivators on the earth, there are some traces on the earth that prove that cultivators did exist on the earth. I guess the pre-Qin Qi practitioners mentioned by Zhang's Honggaiu are cultivators. At this moment, Su Yang secretly calculated, it's just that later, all the cultivators disappeared, and ancient warriors were derived. Well, that should be the case. Previously, when Su Yang used the talisman to kill Ji Yiping in the Jimen black market in public, there were people talking about the ancient talisman. In addition, the ancient elixir that Hua Shimiao used to revive himself a few days ago was so miraculous that it must not be something that ordinary doctors can refine. There is also the key to the East Mansion. This thing is full of mystery. Could it be that the so-called East Mansion is the residence of a powerful pre-Qin Qi practitioner? All of this is unknown, and it is useless to overthink it. It needs to be verified personally. At this moment, Su Yang met Zhang's Honggaiu's gaze and did not deny it. Instead, he pretended to be profound and said, as expected of the Medicine King Palace, I really have a keen eye. You are right, I do have a great background. Zhang's Honggaiu's strength is unfathomable. Su Yang has never gotten along with him, so he doesn't know if this person has other motives, so he follows his words and makes him think that he has a strong backer, thus invisibly frightening him. As expected, Zhang's Honggaiu did not doubt Su Yang's words and couldn't help but ask, Palace Master, may I ask which sect you come from and who your master is? To be able to cultivate such an outstanding genius like you, your master must be a famous figure, right? He. Su Yang stared at Zhang's Honggaiu, showed a playful smile, and said enigmatically, Zhang's Honggaiu, I dare to speak my master's name, do you dare to listen? Think carefully before you answer me. Do you dare to listen? Although Su Yang looked only in his 20s, inside his body was an old monster that had lived for 100,000 years. In comparison, Zhang's Hongaya was about 200 years old, so he was nothing. In terms of aura, he was completely suppressed by Su Yang. This. Zhang's Hongaya paused, struggled for a moment, and quickly shook his head and said, "Palace Master, this subordinate doesn't listen anymore. It's my fault. I shouldn't talk too much. Please punish me." "Forget about the punishment. Remember, don't ask more questions next time. You know too much and it won't do you any good," Su Yang said in a deep voice. "Yes." Zhang's Hongaya was frightened and hurriedly responded, but there was no trace of the superior posture of his predecessors. Pretending to be successful, Su Yang showed a smile, then thought of something, and said, "Zhang's Hongaya, Shixian, and Duan Sihai died in Jiangbei. The place of Zen may be able to find out this matter, but it is difficult for them to know that it was Su Xiantian who killed these people. It is even more impossible for these two people to know that I, Su Yang, am Su Xiantian. This is what you told them, right? The palace master is wise." Zhang's Hongaya explained, "That night at Evian Villa, after I learned what you meant, I immediately went to the place of Zen, met with the master of Mount Tai, and explained everything to him. Because Shixian is not his biological grandson, it is not difficult to resolve this matter. It's just that the grudge between your father Su Shenbing and the master of Mount Tai is difficult to resolve. I can only mediate it and barely persuade the master of Mount Tai. This matter is over." Zhang's Hongaya continued, "But later, Shixian's mother Du Hongjin asked the master of Mount Tai for the truth. The master of Mount Tai wanted to test you, so he told Du Hongjin everything. After that, Du Hongjin found her lover Chu Fuxian, and this led to tonight's situation." "I see." Su Yang heard this and said coldly, "Shihan, you put my mother under house arrest, and you also directed Du Hongjin Chufushan to kill me, I really belong to you." "Palace Master, he is just testing you. He is also in the dark tonight. He only left after seeing that you killed Du Hongjin and still had the ability to kill Chu Fuxian." Zhang's Hongaya put in good words for Shihan, "Actually, Master Taishan just doesn't say it, but he actually appreciates you. I don't need his appreciation." Su Yang's eyes flashed, and he said in a deep voice, "Sooner or later, I will rely on my own strength to break into the place of Zen, go see my mother, and rescue my mother." When Zhang's Hongaya heard this, his mind moved. Knowing that the opportunity had come, he said, "Palace Master, Master Taishan has something to tell you." "What are you talking about?" Su Yang frowned. Zhang's Hongaya said, "He said that as long as you can take the lead in the martial arts competition of hundreds of sects, he will allow you to go to the place of Zen to see your mother." 100 sects martial arts competition. Su Yang frowned, it was obviously the first time he heard this term. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 283. Palace Master, it's like this. Zhang's Hongaya explained, every sect in the ancient martial arts world will organize a large-scale public competition every 5 years. The winner can receive many rewards. All sects in the ancient martial arts world who are talented under the age of 40 you can participate. Over the years, the young talents who have won the first place in the 100 sects martial arts competition are all from the 3 top powers, in the place of Zen, between the mountains and the sea, and deep in the clouds and mists. Zhang's Hongaya continued, therefore, the 100 sects martial arts competition gradually evolved into a means for the 3 major forces to show off their genius and intimidate the major sections. However, All the forces that exist for hundreds or thousands of years in the ancient martial arts world have their own background. They have never given up on the 100 sex martial arts competition. Every time the 100 sex compete in martial arts, they will send out the strongest geniuses. Zhang Honggao continued, because once we win the championship, it will be the highest honor for the entire sect, and the sect will be respected even in the next few decades. After all, the person who can outsmart all the heroes and take first place must be a well-deserved pride of heaven. His future is limitless. It is only a matter of time before he grows into a giant. Zhang Honggao looked at Su Yang, smiled softly and said, "The main reason why Mount Tai hates your father is that your father caused your mother to lose all her vitality and become an ordinary person. Your mother is the top genius he trained. If nothing happens, she will inherit the place of Zen in the future and become the new master of Mount Tai. But all of this was ruined by your father, so Master Taishan was furious." Zhang Honggao smiled and said, "He made it clear to me that if you want him to accept you, the Su family must give him a genius who can rival Shi Yuyan. Therefore, Palace Master, as long as you can take the lead in the martial arts competitions of hundreds of sects and shock the talents of the world, the Lord of Mount Tai will recognize you." Zhang Honggao said, "In this way, you can naturally enter the place of Zen, reunite with your mother, and even have the opportunity to sit on Mount Tai and be the leader of Mount Tai. Is it?" Su Yang understood, his expression did not waver at all, and he said coldly, "In that case, I will participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition, but I don't need Shi Huan's acceptance. He is not qualified to recognize me. I participated in the 100 sex martial arts competition just to prove myself, not to show myself and gain his approval. I am not that lowly." Su Yang's eyes were as bright as fire and he said in a deep voice, "As for the place of Zen, if he persists in his obsession and continues to imprison my mother, given time, I will make this force that has been passed down for thousands of years completely disappear from the ancient martial arts world." As he spoke, Su Yang exuded an aura of self-importance, and his tone was full of unquestionable aura. This. When Zhang Honggao next to him saw this, his eyes suddenly became dull and he looked at Su Yang in astonishment. The spirit is as high as the sky. With high aspirations. Such young talent is hard to find in this world. For a time, Zhang Honggao admired Su Yang very much and was very glad that he had made the right decision. A few days ago, Zhang Honggao hesitated at Evian Villa. Although the old master of Tianji sect divined the secrets and told him that Su Xiantian was the one who changed the structure of Yaoang Palace. But Su Xiantian was so arrogant that he forced his descendant Zhang Ruomu to abdicate, and his words were extremely arrogant. Therefore, Zhang Honggao had the idea of killing Su Xiantian in order to maintain the majesty of Yaoang Palace. Well, go ahead, the sooner the better. Walk. As for the sequelae of the secret art of blood sacrifice, they have not broken out yet, but they will probably not wait until dawn. Su Yang smiled softly and said, "When he comes to my territory, how can I let him leave just as he wants? I have already killed him. Now it seems that I did the right thing at the beginning. Susuanation's background are beyond my imagination." "Yes," Zhang Honggao responded respectfully. Xiaoting agreed, then turned to smile bitterly and said, "How can the family master and the old man explain what happened tonight?" Su Yang raised his hand and asked, "Xiaoting, how are my father and grandfather?" Su Yang smiled softly and said, "Just tell them that someone in the Fengchan land came to trouble the Su family, but they were resolved by the masters of the Medicine King Palace." Su Yang has read countless people, and he can see through all kinds of old monsters that have lived for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. Naturally, he can also see the change in Zhang Honggao's attitude towards him, with a traceless smile on his lips. After returning to the room, Su Yang sat cross-legged and meditated. Before he started running the 9 nether prison suppressing technique, Xiaoting's voice came from outside. Can. Get up. Xiaoting responded respectfully, then entered the room, knelt on one knee and said, "I've seen the young master." Reporting to the young master, the master and the old man are fine. They were resting earlier. Xiaoting continued, however, just now, the Su family suddenly erupted with strong Genkai fluctuations, which woke up the head of the family and the old man. They were very worried and asked me to come out to see what happened. But after thinking about it later, he gave up and decided to give it a try. The old master of Tianji sect has never made any mistakes. The eldest young master is invincible. At this moment, Zhang Hongao not only admired Su Yang, but also respected him. Yes. At this time, Su Yang's eyes fell on Zhang Hongao, and he ordered in a calm tone, "I asked Hua Shimiao to collect some medicinal materials before. Go and urge him. They must be delivered as soon as possible. I will wait for you in the room." Having said this, Xiaoting looked at Su Yang in awe and couldn't help but ask, "Young master, is that master who covets the Su family gone?" Su Yang nodded, then turned and returned to his room in the Su family manner. Different from before, the respect now comes from the heart, and Su Yang is truly regarded as the master of the Medicine King Palace. Zhang Hongao. If he didn't take the qi and blood pill within 3 to 5 hours, he might really have to recuperate for a while, which was obviously not what he wanted. Su Yang nodded gently, and then said, "The door is unlocked, come in." Xiaoting flattered him excitedly, and then asked, "Young master, how should I respond to the head of the family and the old man?" "Tell them that you are a super master." "Yes. The 9-turn rejuvenation needle, the Sumarena ring, and the supreme treasure, all of them are enough to prove that he comes from a mysterious force, perhaps more powerful than the place of Zen, between the mountains and the sea, and deep in the clouds and mists. Now, the spiritual energy in his body is almost exhausted, and he needs to replenish it as soon as possible." Su Yang nodded, but changed his words the next second, "Forget it, just wait a little longer. I have a 7-day appointment with my dad and grandpa. Calculating the time, it's already up. Wait until I finish what happened back then and find out and tell them personally. It's easy." "Young master, are you in the room?" Xiaoting asked cautiously. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 284. Palace of Medicine King. Xiaoting was shocked. He naturally knew about Yaoang Palace, but he didn't know the relationship between Su Yang and Yaoang Palace, so he said, "Young master, if the master and the old man ask, why does Yaoang Palace want to help Su family, how should my subordinates respond? Just say that I was favored by the King of Medicine Palace, and now I am the talent that the Palace of Medicine focuses on cultivating." Su Yang said calmly, "As for the rest, don't say more, I will explain it to them." "Okay, go to the underground secret room quickly and appease my dad and grandpa. I'm here with the Su family so they don't have to worry. I will take up the responsibility of protecting the Su family," Su Yang said seriously. "Yes." Xiaoting cupped his fists and bent over, slowly exiting the room. After he left, Su Yang used the remaining spiritual energy in his body to set up a magic circle. This magic circle has no defensive capabilities, but it can serve as a reminder. Once someone approaches, he will notice it immediately. After completing the preparations, Su Yang took out 50 energy stones from the storage ring, closed his eyes slightly, and began to absorb the spiritual energy from the energy stones. In a blink of an eye, 2 hours passed. It was already early in the morning and it was dark outside. In the room, 48 energy stones turned into ashes, and the spiritual energy in Su Yang's body finally returned to its peak state. At this moment, the blood sacrifice state has not disappeared yet. Su Yang's body is full of spiritual energy and is in the most powerful state. But this state will disappear soon. As long as the backlash of the blood sacrifice secret technique comes, he will instantly slump. Zhang's Honggao hasn't arrived yet, and he doesn't know if Hua Shimiao has collected the medicinal materials for refining qi and blood pills. Now that there was no point in urging him, Su Yang did not call Hua Shimiao. Instead, he made a thought and observed Teddy in the storage ring, intending to wake up Shifen and protect him. Shifen is still sleeping. The demonic aura on her body is getting stronger and stronger, and the spiritual energy in her body is surging. Damn it, she has actually reached the 9th level of Qi training. Seeing this, Su Yang couldn't help but smile bitterly and said, Nima, it's so annoying when people compare themselves to others. No, it's so annoying when people compare themselves to dogs. I practiced first, with the help of the immortal Emperor's soul, and now I have only reached the 8th level of Qi training, but this piece of shit has already reached the 9th level of Qi training by eating essence and blood. Su Yang carefully looked at Shifen, who was sleeping, and said with envy, look at it like this. With the help of the essence and blood of Du Hongjin and Chu Fusion, it seems that it can make another breakthrough. Damn it, is it planning to directly build the foundation? I'm jealous. Hate it. Although Su Yang gritted his teeth, in his heart, he hoped that Shifen would become stronger. After all, Shifen is his spiritual beast and has a master-servant contract bound to him. Shifen successfully built the foundation, and she was equivalent to having a powerful helper. Build the foundation. Build the foundation. Shifen said that she could transform after building a foundation. I wonder what such a small teddy dog would look like, a little Lolita with curly hair? Forget it, don't think about it. I am now at the 8th level of Qi training. I can crush the early stage of Tianzong. I can use the key of Dongfu to suppress the middle stage of Tianzong. If I activate the blood sacrifice, I can use the key of Dongfu to wipe out the later stage of Tianzong. Su Yang murmured, according to my inference, cultivators in the foundation building realm will definitely be able to overtake the Tian sect and even compare to the powerful ones of the Shen section. I don't know if there are any divine sects in the ancient martial arts world, and how many divine sects there are. Su Yang thought of Zhang's Honggao and guessed, Zhang's Honggao, the foundation of Yaoang Palace. I can't feel his aura. He must have touched the threshold of Shen sect, at least half step of Shen section. If Shifen can build the foundation, I will have a powerful bodyguard. I will feel confident when I participate in the 100 Sects martial arts competition in the future. Thinking of this, Su Yang did not disturb Shifen and let her continue to absorb the blood essence of Du Hongjin and Chu Fusion. At the same time, Su Yang suddenly noticed that Zhang's Honggao was here, carrying a bag on his back and moving towards the room where he was. Then, Su Yang dispelled the magic circle and opened the door with a wave of his hand. Palace Master. Zhang's Honggao's figure flashed, and when he came to the room, he put down his backpack and said respectfully, sorry, I'm late. When my subordinates returned to Evian Villa, Hua Shimiao still had to collect all the medicinal materials. That medicinal material, only the depths of the clouds and mist exist, but my subordinates went to the depths of the clouds and mist overnight, and finally managed to live up to their mission and collect all the medicinal materials. Su Yang's eyes fell on Zhang's Honggao and found that Zhang's Honggao's body consumed a lot of energy, which must have been caused by traveling long distances using his energy. He was slightly moved and said, thank you for your hard work. The master is welcome. Zhang's Honggao was flattered, and then asked curiously, Palace Master, what do you want these medicinal materials for? I think the medicinal materials are to replenish qi and blood. If you have a loss of qi and blood in your body, do you need to use medicinal materials to replenish it? Yes, Su Yang nodded and did not deny it. Master, you must not do this. Zhang's Honggao hurriedly said, as the saying goes, a deficiency cannot be replenished. Some of these herbs are very tonic. Your current physical condition simply cannot bear it. Besides, the medicine is 3-part poisonous. It is a medicine that replenishes qi and blood. It is only suitable to be taken slowly. Do not take it too hastily, otherwise you will suffer backlash and risk your life, Zhang Honggao kindly reminded. Who wants me to take these medicinal materials? Su Yang smiled softly and said, I'm going to refine them into elixirs. Don't worry, I know my own rules. This. Hearing this, Zhang Honggao stopped admonishing and said in awe, Palace Master, then you refine it, I will sit outside for you and don't let anyone disturb you. Good. Su Yang nodded. Then, Zhang Honggao walked out of the room and came to the door, his eyes slightly closed, like a door god. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang did not hesitate, poured out all the medicinal materials in his backpack, and began to refine qi and blood pills. At this time, outside the Su family manor, in the darkness, a boy about 13 or 14 years old was peeking into the manor. This person has a fair face and is wearing ancient clothes. He is Lin Yuan, the book boy next to Chu Fuxian. When Chu Fuxian entered the Su family manor, he left him outside. From the beginning to the end, he never left. But the strange thing is that neither Su Yang, Zhang Honggao, nor the master of Mount Tai noticed his existence. Interesting. What an interesting young man. At this time, Beijing Shutong's face completely lost the innocence he had when he was next to Chu Fuxian. There was a playful smile on his lips, and his eyes were deep and unpredictable. Su Yang, Su Xiantian. Haha, are these the descendants of the Kunlun Su family? It's really interesting. Beijing Shutong is only 13 or 14 years old. His voice was originally very childish, but now, his voice is extremely old, like an octogenarian. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 285. Now. Beijing Shutong Lin Yuan looked at the Su family manor and said meaningfully, more than 20 years ago, Su Shenbing of the Kunlun Su family was born to participate in the martial arts competition of hundreds of sections. No one in the ancient martial arts world can compete with him, and finally came out on top. Now, is the Kunlun Su family going to appear again? Ha ha ha, the several hundred sect martial arts competitions in the past years were dull and boring, but this time it is finally a little interesting. Beijing Shutong smiled softly and said, the martial arts I practice are strange. Every 30 years, my body will return to the state of 5 years old. The earth-shattering power will be sealed accordingly. As I grow older, it will be gradually unsealed. You can return to your peak form at the age of 15. But Chu Fuxian has nothing to do with the world. I condescended to be his book boy. I thought I could live smoothly for 10 years, but I didn't expect that something went wrong in the 9th year. The corners of Beijing Shutong's lips raised and he said, but it doesn't matter. Now that the 9th level of the seal has been lifted, although I can't compete with Shi Hehan, no one in the ancient martial arts world can hurt me. Chu Fuxian has lost his role for me. He will be dead when he dies. However, the Kunlun Su family is a big trouble. Su Yang, he has many secrets. He consumes qi and blood to increase his strength, and manipulates the treasure to suppress and kill the Tianzong in the later stage. The energy in his body does not seem to be true qi. What's even weirder is that the spiritual energy in his body was originally exhausted, but in such a short period of time, he actually returned to his peak. Beijing Shutong smiled playfully and murmured, is this the method of the Kunlun Su family? It is indeed mysterious and unpredictable. No wonder the world calls the Kunlun Su family, the Kunlun immortal family, and suspects that the Su family has mastered the skills of ancient qi practitioners. Cultivation method, attack in groups, and finally destroy the Kunlun Su family. I was lucky enough to participate in that battle back then, but in the end, no one got any training methods from the ancient qi refiners. More than 20 years ago, Su Shenbing made a high-profile comeback. He must have been prepared to seek revenge from the major sections. It's a pity. After all, he is a young junior. What's the use of being strong? It's not like he was plotted. Beijing Shutong smiled softly and murmured, in ancient Qi training, spiritual energy can replace true energy. The higher the realm, the longer your lifespan, and you can even live forever. I also long for eternal life. This Su Yang may be a breakthrough. Ha ha ha, Kunlun Su family, I must get your cultivation method to see if it is the method of the immortal family. After saying this, the figure of Beijing Shutong disappeared. From the beginning to the end, he was like air, and no one noticed his existence. Before I knew it, it was done. Su family manor, in the room. In the middle of the night, Su Yang had successfully refined the qi and blood pill and consumed it. After several hours of conditioning, the energy and blood in his body finally returned to its original state. The backlash of the blood sacrifice secret technique was completely offset. Not only that, Su Yang used 1 or 200 energy stones, coupled with the remaining medicinal effects of the original 5,000-year-old snow lotus, and finally stepped into the 9th level of Qi training in one fell swoop. Refined by later generations of doctors, no, we should not classify it as refining. It is more appropriate to use making. I wonder if I can compete with Zhang's Hongaiwa with my fighting power. Zhang's Hongaiwa's eyes were instantly attracted to the qi and blood pill. After carefully looking at it for a few seconds, he suddenly said with surprise, "It's really an ancient elixir. This is an ancient elixir that can only be refined by ancient qi refiners." Zhang's Hongaiwa continued with a serious face, "Since the ancient qi refiners disappeared, the methods of refining ancient elixirs have been lost. Today, only a handful of ancient elixirs have been preserved in the world. The effects of ancient elixirs are so miraculous that they can revive the dead and regenerate bones. Some ancient elixirs can even greatly improve strength, change martial arts talents, and turn a dull talented person into a supreme genius." Su Yang continued, "Next time you encounter trouble, you no longer have to worry about the backlash of the blood sacrifice secret technique. As long as you eat it in advance and then start the blood sacrifice, the consumed qi and blood will offset each other with the qi and blood pill, and it will be like using ordinary secret arts." Yes, Su Yang nodded lightly and did not deny it. "The 7 days are up. It's time for me to go find my dad and find out what happened back then." "Palace Master, I heard that ancient elixirs need to be tempered with special energy in order to become elixirs. Nowadays, Su Yang will not be as troublesome as before when dealing with the late Tianzong period." Su Yang put away the qi and blood pill, then met Zhang's Hongai's gaze and asked doubtfully, "Why do you call this an ancient elixir? Is there any difference between the ancient elixir and the elixir you refine?" Zhang's Hongaiu said with a face full of shock, "Palace Master, can you tell me what kind of elixir you are refining?" "This is an ancient elixir." "Palace Master, did you really refine this elixir yourself?" Zhang's Hongaiu couldn't help but ask. 9 levels of qi training. Su Yang smiled, then took out a qi and blood pill from the storage ring and said, "It's an ordinary pill, nothing special." Su Yang ended his cultivation state, a smile appeared on his lips, and he changed his words, "No, I am competing with a dog, making it seem like I envy it." In the pre-Qin era, among those qi practitioners, there were specialized alchemists, and the elixirs they refined are now generally called ancient elixirs. There is also an ancient elixir that can increase longevity and change your destiny. It is said that there is even an elixir of immortality. Zhang's Hongaiu continued, "We doctors just crush and knead various medicinal materials in a certain proportion and based on our own experience, bake them and dry them in the sun to make pills. This time, I used those medicinal materials to refine 3 qi and blood pills. After eating one, I still have 2 pills left." Zhang's Hongaiu was extremely shocked. He looked directly at Su Yang as if he were looking at a piece of uncut jade, and said excitedly, "Master, you actually have this method to refine ancient elixirs. It's amazing. God wants to make me the Medicine King Temple. Su Yang was confident that even if he didn't use the key to the East Palace and didn't activate the secret technique of blood sacrifice, he could still kill the ancient warrior of Chu Fusion's level. Incredible. Zhang Honggao smiled bitterly and said, "My ancestors, the medical sage Zhang Zhongjing and the king of medicine Sun Simiao, spent their whole lives studying ancient elixirs. Unfortunately, they were unable to get in, and they failed to succeed until they died. They passed away with regrets." Zhang Honggao, who was guarding outside, immediately greeted Su Yang respectfully when he saw him, but then he was surprised and said, "Palace Master, your energy and blood have recovered. This is incredible. The 9th level of Qi training, haha, now Shifen and I are at the same level." Thinking of this, Su Yang stood up and walked out of the room. "That's it?" Su Yang smiled softly and said, "Without using the trump card, I'm afraid he won't be his opponent. If the blood sacrifice is turned on and the key to the East Mansion is added, then maybe." Zhang Honggao explained excitedly, "The so-called ancient elixir contains a special energy and has miraculous effects. The difference is huge." Su Yang nodded and said, "Well, he has recovered as before." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 286. I see. Su Yang nodded and smiled softly. Zhang Honggao, do you want to become an alchemist and refine ancient elixirs? Think. Zhang Honggao's eyes instantly became fiery. He looked at Su Yang excitedly, and couldn't help but ask, "Palace Master, are you willing to teach me the refining method? I have taken out the 9-turn rejuvenation needle and shared it with the doctors at the Medicine King Palace. Naturally, I will not be stingy with the method of refining the ancient elixir." Su Yang smiled softly and said, "It's just that you are not suitable now. I will teach you when I have the opportunity, but the premise is that you must have enough energy stones." "Energy stone?" Zhang Honggao asked doubtfully. "Right." Su Yang said seriously, "You can collect energy stones now. The more, the better. I guarantee that you will have the ability to refine ancient elixirs." "Good." Zhang Honggao said in awe, "Master of the palace, I actually told Ruomu to start collecting them before. I believe that now the Medicine King Palace can produce thousands of energy stones." "So much?" Su Yang was overjoyed and said with a smile, "Quick, order someone to send the energy stone over. I will be of great use." "Yes." Zhang Honggao nodded and said, "However, Palace Master, Ruomu just asked the doctors scattered around to collect energy stones. It will take some time to send them over." "Well, I understand. I can wait until the energy stones reach 2,000 before they are delivered to me." Su Yang said, "Now, you come with me to meet my dad and grandpa. Don't call me Palace Master when you go there. They don't know that I am Su Xiantian yet." "Don't let it slip," Su Yang reminded. "Yes, I understand," Zhang Honggao said respectfully. Su Yang nodded and then said, "You can say that Su Xiantian is the master of the Medicine King Palace, and then I join the Medicine King Palace under Su Suanation's recommendation. The master who came to the Su family last night was killed by you. You followed Su Suanation's order to protect me and the Su family." Su Yang prepared his words. "Clear." Zhang Honggao agreed, and then asked curiously, "Palace Master, why are you hiding this?" "It's more complicated to say. At the beginning, I knew that the Su family had enemies. I didn't want to alert others, so I presented myself as Su Xiantian. Everyone thought that Su Yang was a super playboy." Su Yang smiled bitterly and said, "But later on, who knew that my grandfather would go to Su Xiantian to swear sworn vows? My other identity now is that I am my grandfather's sworn brother and my father's uncle Xiantian. If I let them know that I am Su Xiantian, they will have to jump up and teach me how to behave. Su Yang continued, besides, there are some things that I haven't figured out yet. Let's hide them for now. I will find an opportunity to explain to them later. Okay. Zhang Honggao had heard about these things and couldn't help laughing but agreed. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang walked towards the underground secret room, while Zhang Honggao followed him, not daring to go any further. A few minutes later, the two arrived at the entrance to the underground secret room. Xiaoting was guarding the entrance, never leaving. When he saw Su Yang, he greeted him respectfully, "Young master." Su Yang nodded lightly, and then said, "Take me to see my dad and grandpa." "Yes." Xiaoting agreed and opened the entrance to the underground secret room at the same time. The three of them walked through a dark passage and soon arrived at the underground secret room. Before entering the room, Su Yang felt mixed. Thinking of his father and grandfather's injuries, he felt sad. Although he could refine the bone-growing elixir and heal his father and grandfather's injuries, no one could replace the pain that their father and grandfather endured. Bone-breaking pain, it makes me uncomfortable just thinking about it. Dad and Grandpa must be lying in bed right now, in agony, right? The bones are all broken, and I must be tossing and turning, unable to sleep peacefully, hey. Su Yang sighed, deeply in love, his eye circles were slightly red, and he felt sorry for what happened to his father and grandfather. Entering the underground secret room, Su Yang saw that there were two beds, and his father and grandfather were indeed lying on the beds. But after seeing what his father and grandfather were doing, Su Yang's face suddenly darkened. I saw that right in front of the secret room, an LCD TV was installed at some point. At this moment, the LCD TV was showing a beauty wearing a bikini catwalk. That body, that clothes, so hot. This woman is no good. She has nothing but long legs. She is too small and looks just average. Father, you are right, it is not as good as the last one. If I were the referee, I would only give it 7 points. The last one's skin was so dark. He must have just returned from coal mining. But he was quite creative in what he wore. It's not as good as it used to be. In our time, everyone was so conservative. They would only open their pants to see their buttocks. It's different now, Grandma. Yes, now I'm picking up my butt to look for pants. My father summed it up brilliantly and to the point. That thing is called Tiku. Su Yang was standing nearby, listening to his father and grandfather talking, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. Cough. After a pause for a few seconds, Su Yang cleared his throat uncomfortably. Who? Su Yang. Su Shenbing looked up. After seeing Su Yang, he felt a little embarrassed. He quickly used the remote control to change the channel. Soon the LCD TV started broadcasting news. Yo. Su Yang saw the scene and said with a teasing smile, "Dad, your movements are very slippery. What were you and Grandpa looking at just now?" "No. I didn't see anything." Su Shenbing felt guilty. "Stop pretending, I saw it all." Su Yang smiled playfully, "That bikini beauty has a very hot figure." "Dad, are you also studying the enemy's shortcomings and flaws? Are you looking for loopholes?" Su Shenbing was a little ashamed and didn't know what to say for a while. "You kid, what are you talking about? Who do you think your father and I are?" At this time, Su Kinkan said seriously, "We are just looking at the contemporary young people from a critical perspective to see how shameless they are, so that we can teach the younger generations of the Su family not to learn from them." "Yeah." Su Yang couldn't help but laugh and said, "Grandpa, I just saw that your eyes were so straight that your eyeballs almost fell out. Your critical posture is quite interesting." "Shut up, you kid, don't mention it again." Sukyankin blushed, turned to look at Su Yang, and said seriously, "You came just in time. What happened last night?" Xiaoting was hesitant and unclear. "Please explain to us." "Huh? I almost forgot, who is this old man next to you?" Sukyankin asked. Su Yang did not want to embarrass his grandfather and father, so he did not continue the topic, but introduced, "Grandpa, this is a person from the Medicine King Palace, his name is Zhang Hongyao. Last night, it was Senior Zhang Hongyao who defeated the master who wanted to retaliate against the Su family." Zhang Hongyao. Sukyankin paused, and his eyes fell on Zhang Hongyao. After a few seconds, he seemed to have thought of something, and said with a face full of shock, "Are you the Kyoto sage, Zhang Hongyao, the miracle doctor?" Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 287. Kyoto Sage, Zhang Hongyao. Hearing Sukyankin call out his name, Zhang Hongyao smiled, stroked his beard and said, "I didn't expect that after so long, someone would still remember me. Really the holy hand of Kyoto?" Sukyankin's face was full of shock, and he turned to wonder, "It is rumored that Zhang Hongyao has gone to Hexi, why are you?" "That's just a cover-up." Zhang Hongyao smiled and said, "I am getting old, and I no longer want to worry about the trivial matters of the Medicine King Palace, nor do I want to diagnose people's illnesses, so I released the news and told the world that I have passed away. Actually, I have been staying in Kyoto these years and devoted myself to spiritual practice." Zhang Hongyao is much higher than Sukyankin in terms of age and status. However, in front of Sukyankin, there was no hint of dominance in his tone. After all, Sukyankin was the palace master's grandfather, so he didn't dare to show off. Certainly. The palace master had ordered that the identity of the palace master should not be revealed, so Zhang Hongyao did not show respect to Sukyankin, but just described it plainly. "I see." Sukyankin suddenly understood and nodded as if he understood. His eyes were still full of surprise. He never thought that he would be able to see the Kyoto Holy Hand in person in his lifetime. "You know, Zhang Hongyao, the sage of Kyoto, was a man of the hour in the last century. Many nobles came to him for medical treatment, and basic medicines could cure their illnesses. Miracle Dr. Zhang." After calming down, Sukyankin couldn't help but ask curiously, "You have a distinguished status, how come you know Su Yang, and why do you help the Su family tide over the difficulties?" "This." Zhang Hongyao smiled and was about to explain according to Su Yang's instructions. But at this time, Su Yang smiled softly and said, "Dr. Zhang, let me tell Grandpa." "Grandpa, it's like this. Do you remember Su Xiantian, your sworn brother?" Su Yang asked back. When Su Xiantian was mentioned, Sukyankin said seriously, "Of course I remember, what's wrong? You and Dad, haven't you always suspected Susuanation's background before? You feel that he has such strong strength at such a young age, and he has ancient talismans, so he must have a lot of history." Su Yang smiled and continued, "You and Dad guessed right. Susuanation's background is indeed great, because he is the new master of the Medicine King Palace. He sits in the entire Medicine King Palace, and with one order, thousands of people in the world can. There's no one who doesn't follow the advice of a doctor." "What?" When Sukyankin heard this, he was immediately shocked. "My good brother is actually the master of the Medicine King Palace. Su Yang, are you serious about this?" "It's absolutely true." Su Yang nodded. Sukyankin still didn't believe it, so he moved his eyes to look at Zhang Hongyao next to him. When he saw Zhang Hongyao nodded, he completely believed it. "My good brother is really the master of the Medicine King Palace. Ha ha ha. No wonder he is so strong. With the resources of the Medicine King Palace, it is not surprising that he has cultivated a young talent. Now the explanation makes sense." Sukyankin looked up to the sky. Laugh. Su Shenbing, who was lying on the other bed, was also very excited. Uncle Xiantian is mysterious and secretive. He has been hiding it from us. Unexpectedly, he was holding back a secret. Master of the Medicine King Palace, this status is too great. The entire ancient martial arts world may have to give him face. Su Shenbing said with joy, now our Su family is temporarily saved. Good. At this time, Su Yang smiled softly and said, Dad is right to the point. Su Xiantian thought of his sworn relationship with Grandpa and decided to come forward to help our Su family. Tonight, Zhang Hongyao, the miracle doctor, received the order from Su Xiantian and came to protect the Su family. Su Yang continued, Grandpa, Dad, you don't know how powerful the people who came to the Su family tonight are. It is said that they are masters from the late Tianzong period. Fortunately, Divine Dr. Zhang is here, otherwise the Su family might be in danger. Tianzong, late stage. When Su Shenbing heard this, he was immediately shocked. He squinted his eyes slightly, and a sharp look flashed in his eyes. The land of Zen is actually serious. Damn Shi Hehan, he clearly promised Yu Yan back then. At this point, Su Shenbing realized that there were outsiders present and stopped talking. Afterwards, Su Shenbing looked at Zhang Hongyao and thanked him, thank you so much, Dr. Zhang, for saving me. The whole Su family is extremely grateful. Master Su, you're welcome. Zhang Hongyao was a little embarrassed to accept Su Shenbing's thanks. After all, Chu Fuxian and Du Hongling were not killed by him. He hurriedly said, I was just following orders. If you want to thank, just thank the palace master Su Xiantian. Su Shenbing sighed, Uncle Suanation's great kindness to the Su family, the Su family has nothing to repay. Dad, there is no repayment for this. When Su Yang heard this, he smiled softly and said, Su Xiantian not only sent people to protect the Su family, but also sent people to the place of Fengchan to negotiate with the owner of Mount Tai and resolve the grievances between us. From now on, the place of Fengchan will not be destroyed. We will send people over again to deal with the Su family. This. Su Shenbing couldn't help but look at Zhang Hongyao and asked, Dr. Zhang, is it true that the land of Zen will no longer retaliate against the Su family? Exactly. Zhang Hongyao stroked his beard and said, I personally handled this matter. Shi Hehan and I are old acquaintances. In addition, Shi Hehan asked for something from our Medicine King Palace, so the matter was settled easily. Shi Hehan, the master of Mount Tai, personally promised that the land of Fengchan would never target the Su family again. Zhang Hongyao looked at Su Shenbing and explained for Shi Hehan, actually, Master Su, you may have misunderstood Shi Hehan. He has never sent anyone to trouble the Su family. The young man who died in the Su family a few days ago was named Shi Xian. It was his own idea to destroy the Su family. He did not receive any instructions from anyone. At least the master of Mount Tai did not know about it. Shi Hehan kept his promise and had no intention of destroying the Su family. This should be the key to my successful negotiation with him, Zhang Hongyao said with a smile. But, Su Shenbing continued, as far as I know, that Shi Xian is Shi Hehan's grandson. His grandson died in the Su family. How could he let the Su family go so easily? He. Zhang Hongyao suddenly became interested, his expression brightened, and he seemed to be very happy talking about this kind of gossip. It's very simple, in fact, that Shi Xian is not Shi Hehan's grandson at all. His biological father is someone else, your uncle. Shi Yunfei was cheated on, ha ha ha. Su Shenbing. Su Qincan. Su Yang. Dr. Zhang, old gentleman. Why are you so happy when I mention this? Also, your expression is wrong, there is a bit of vulgarity in your excitement, which is seriously inconsistent with your image of an old-timer. Ahem, Dr. Zhang, don't be so wretched and speak nicely. Su Yang glanced at Zhang Hongyao and reminded him. Zhang Hongyao's heart suddenly shivered, and he quickly put away his smile and resumed his inscrutable posture. "You bastard, how come you, a junior, are talking to divine Dr. Zhang?" Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 288. When Sukyankin saw this, his eyes fell on Su Yang, and he scolded seriously, "Why don't you apologize to Dr. Zhang quickly?" "Apologize? Want the palace master to apologize to me? Are you kidding? The palace master is mysterious and masters the refining methods of ancient elixirs. It's too late for me to please him. How dare I accept his apology?" Zhang Zhongyao was frightened and hurriedly smiled and said, "Forget it, I have been getting along well with young Master Su these past few days. It is normal for him to joke with me." Hearing what Zhang Zhongyao said, Sukyankin and Su Shenbing's faces instantly looked much better, and they even felt that Su Yang was promising. "In short, it's what I said. That Shi Xian is not Shi Hehan's biological grandson. He will die when he dies." Zhang Zhongyao continued, "Even if our palace master Su Xiantian doesn't kill Shi Xian that day, he will die." "That's it." Su Shenbing nodded as if he understood. "Master Su." Zhang Zhongyao looked at Su Shenbing and continued, "I have heard more or less about your grievances with Fengchan land, but since I told you that the matter has been resolved, you don't need to worry anymore. From now on, the Su family will get back on track and can continue to be the overlord of Jiangbei." Su Shenbing nodded slightly, but there was a hint of unwillingness in his eyes. He knew that the place of Zen had returned to the state it had been in the past few years. If he did not target the Su family, he would not let Yu Yan back. When he thought of this, Su Shenbing was unwilling to give in, and at the same time he hated himself for being powerless. Sensing that his father was in a low mood and had a lot to say, Su Yang gave Zhang Zhongyao a wink and signaled Zhang Zhongyao to leave. Zhang Zhongyao naturally saw it, and said, "Master Su, Mr. Su, I have explained the matter clearly to you, and I will not stay any longer. I will leave first." "Dr. Zhang, thank you for your help." Sukyankin thanked him again. "Mr. Su, you're welcome." Zhang Zhongyao smiled and left the underground secret room. At this moment, there are only 3 generations of the Su family in the underground secret room. Su Yang looked at Su Shenbing and went straight to the point, "Dad, you promised me before that you would tell me the truth about that year in 7 days. Counting the time, the 7 days have come." When Su Shenbing heard this, he looked at Sukyankin next to him, as if asking Sukyankin for his opinion. "Hey, now we are like this. The woman is outside again. Su Yang is the only man in the Su family. Sooner or later, he will know about the Su family." Sukyankin sighed and said, "Tell him, he is also an ancient warrior. It is not a bad thing to let him prepare early." "Yes." Su Shenbing responded respectfully, then his eyes fell on Su Yang and said, "Su Yang, prepare a stretcher. You and Xiaoting will carry me to your mother's grave. Some things are more appropriate to say there." "Good." Su Yang nodded, then called Xiaoting to inform him. Not long after, Xiaoting appeared in the underground secret room carrying a stretcher, and worked with Su Yang to carry Su Shenbing into a commercial vehicle. Subsequently, Xiaoting drove the car, while Su Yang took care of Su Shenbing in the back row. During the whole process, Su Shenbing's eyes were slightly closed and he didn't say a word, as if he was preparing his words. About 40 minutes later, the Mercedes-Benz commercial vehicle stopped at the Yongning Cemetery at the foot of Baishan. Su Yang and Xiaoting come here several times a year to worship Shi Yuyan, so they are familiar with the road. Every time he came here before, Su Yang felt extremely heavy and his eyes would even turn red. But now, he already knows that his mother is not dead, but is under house arrest in the place of Zen. Then, this tomb is a fake, used to deceive others, or it is a kind of spiritual sustenance for Su Shenbing. The tomb exploded, revealing nothing inside, a completely empty shell. Xiaoting clasped his fists and bent down, clasped his fists towards Su Yang again, and then left the scene. Yes. I believe that the last farewell is not a forever. Sooner or later we will meet again. Su Shenbing nodded, then turned to say seriously, you must have understood what I just said, otherwise you wouldn't destroy the tomb so decisively. Over the years, I have put too much emotion into the tomb. If you think about it carefully, it is indeed a little inappropriate, as if I am cursing you, ha ha ha. Su Shenbing's bones were all broken and he could only lie on the stretcher. He looked at the grave and said with a smile, this time, I brought my son here. After Su Yang finished speaking, he looked at Su Shenbing curiously and asked, Dad, I want to know, you were so strong more than 20 years ago, why are you in the realm of strength now? Su Yang didn't hide anything and told everything he knew. After that, my mother and you disappeared. When I found my mother again in the Zen land, it was 5 years ago. Why are you going to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition? Isn't our Su family a small family from Jiangbei? How did you have such strong strength in the first place? Therefore, when Su Yang came to Yong'an Cemetery today, there was no fluctuation in his heart. The tombstone was clean and disturbed, and the apples in the fruit bowl were not broken. It was obvious that someone had visited the tomb not long ago. Xiaoting, step back. More than 20 years ago, you participated in the 100 sex martial arts competition, and your skills surpassed those of the others. You defeated my mother, Shi Yuyan, and won the first place. Su Shenbing smiled and said, no, to be precise, your mother's name is Shi Yuyan. She comes from the land of Fengchan and is the daughter of Shi Hehan, the owner of Mount Tai. A few minutes later, the three of them appeared in front of a tombstone. Yes, your mother Zhang Yuyan is not dead, she is still alive today. Su Yang. As expected. Yuyan, I'm here again. At this time, Su Shenbing was lying on the stretcher and said calmly, I want to talk to Su Yang alone. Calculating carefully, it has been 5 years since you left me. During these 5 years, in order to reduce your troubles, under Shi Hehan's arrangement, I dug a grave for you, erected a monument, and swept the grave every month to create the illusion that you were dead. Okay. Also, what happened to you and my mother? Why did my mother become an ordinary person? Su Yang understood that there must be nothing in the tomb, so he waved his hand and released a burst of energy, destroying the stone tablet. Su Yang spoke out all the doubts in his heart in one breath, and then his eyes fell on Su Shenbing, waiting for the answer. Having said this, Su Shenbing suddenly smiled, then looked at Su Yang and ordered, destroy this tombstone for me. Su Shenbing continued, however, now I have decided to confess to my son. I want to tell him everything, so I will not keep this grave. Su Yang was not surprised at all. He nodded gently and said, I heard these things from Dr. Zhang yesterday. In the end, Shi Hehan took my mother away and gave a clear order not to let anyone in the Fengchan land deal with the Su family. That's probably all I know. Oh, it turns out that Dr. Zhang told you. Su Shenbing smiled and said, what else did he tell you? At this moment, only Su Yang and Su Shenbing were left in front of the tomb. I know better than anyone else that you are not in this grave, but I regard it as my emotional sustenance. For the past 5 years, whenever I have troubles, I will come over and complain to the grave, pretending that you can hear it. At that time, Shi Hehan learned that my mother had lost all her martial arts skills and was obliterated by everyone. He became furious and planned to destroy the Su family, but my mother stopped her. Grandpa is clearly in the late stage of the Earth sect, but he has been hiding his strength and showing off as a master. Why? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 289. I plan to be honest with you today. I can answer you all the questions you asked. Su Shenbing met Su Yang's gaze, fell into memories, and said with a smile, first of all, let me answer your third question, why was I so strong 20 years ago? Actually, our Su family is not an ordinary small urban family. We come from the ancient martial arts world, and we are not even an ordinary small sect. Our Su family, with Kunlun Mountain as its foundation, once shocked the entire ancient martial arts world. An ancestor of the Su family, my grandfather, Su Wuji, was born more than 100 years ago and challenged all the major sects in the ancient martial arts world without ever losing. Like the three major powers, your great-grandfather Su Wuzi has been to all the places of Zen, between mountains and seas, and deep in the clouds and mists. Your great-grandfather can come and go freely in their forbidden areas, and your great-grandfather can access their most precious treasures. Feel free to play with it. No one in the world dares to say no to your great-grandfather. That era belonged to your great-grandfather Su Wuzi and to our Su family. So much so that your great-grandfather became the leader of the ancient martial arts world and Wanzhong came to court. Speaking of this, Su Shenbing was extremely excited. That was also the first time that the ancient martial arts world was formed into a whole. All sects must obey your great-grandfather's orders. A single leader's order can mobilize the world's forces. There are many famous mountains in the world, but Mount Tai has been honored as a place of worship by several emperors. It has a transcendent status and has led to Mount Tai becoming the #1 famous mountain in the world. But Kunlun Mountain, where our Su family lives, is called the Immortal Mountain. Kunlun Immortal Mountain, in terms of resources and luck, far surpasses the place of Zen. That era was the peak of the Su family. Even those with powerful backgrounds in the ancient martial arts world would be frightened when they heard the word Su Wuzi. Su Shenbing changed his tone and continued, however, the sky is unpredictable, and people are prone to misfortune and fortune. I don't know why, but suddenly one day, your great-grandfather Su Wuzi disappeared without leaving any trace. He disappeared inexplicably. At that time, your grandfather Su Qinqin was not yet an adult. His martial arts talent was average and he had no intention of practicing martial arts. In addition, your great-grandfather is invincible, so your grandfather started making salted fish, eating, drinking and having fun all day long. He is 17 or 18 years old, but he has not yet set foot in martial arts. Su Shenbing continued, the news of your great-grandfather Su Wuji's disappearance was not kept secret for too long. Paper could not contain the fire. In the end, all the sects in the world knew about it, and then there was a situation where hundreds of sect alliances besieged Kunlun Mountain. Your great-grandfather is so strong, beyond the limits of ancient martial arts. They all suspect that your great-grandfather has mastered the training methods of ancient Qi practitioners, so that's why he entered Kunlun Mountain. At that time, there were 18 powerful masters left behind by your great-grandfather in the Kunlun Mountains. 18 masters resisted to the death, and actually blocked the entire ancient martial arts world. The 100 sect alliance's first attack failed. Su Shenbing said solemnly, but soon, they launched a second attack. This time, there were several powerful people. 18 masters of the Su family were defeated in the end. 17 of them died. Only one person escaped from Kunlun Mountain with your grandfather Su Qinqin. At this point, Su Shenbing stopped. I see. I didn't expect our Su family to have such a past. Su Yang was greatly surprised. What his father said was beyond his expectation. He turned to ask, my great-great-grandfather is so strong, but my grandfather is only a late-stage Earth sect. Yes. When this matter was brought up, Su Shenbing was particularly unhappy. Your grandfather calls me a waste all day long, and also calls you a waste. In fact, he is the most useless. It's obvious that your great-great-grandfather is invincible, but he follows your great-great-grandfather, but he doesn't learn any shit. In the late Earth sect, This was taught step by step by the surviving Su family strongman. Su Shenbing complained, "Hey, just thinking about it makes people angry. If your grandpa could be more angry, I would be the second generation stronger. Why should I suffer all this? Shihan in the land of Fengchan is nothing. It's a pity that your grandpa is talented stupid. There is something you may not know. When your grandfather was a teenager, your great-grandfather Suwazi dominated the world. The ancient martial arts sect paid tribute to many heavenly materials and treasures. Your grandfather ate them every day, so it seems that he was only in his 60s. Well, actually he is over 100 years old." Su Shenbing said harshly. Kunlun Mountain was besieged, and the surviving masters led him to escape. He hid his identity and almost failed to marry a wife. Later, he took a big advantage and married. Forget it, I won't say anything about your grandfather. If you are interested, you can ask him yourself. At this point, Su Shenbing warned Su Yang seriously and said sternly, "You must not tell him about the things I complained about your grandfather, or I will beat your skin to pieces." "Haha, don't worry Dad, I won't tell you." Su Yang didn't joke with his father. He still had doubts in his heart, so he asked, "Dad, my grandfather's talent is not good, but your talent is pretty good, right? That's why you became a genius more than 20 years ago. Hundreds of sects competed in martial arts and showed great splendor." "Yes." Su Shenbing was a little proud, nodded and said, "After I was born, I was taught by the surviving masters to practice martial arts. When I was 25 years old, I set foot in the realm of Tianzong. Those that are being circulated outside now, saying that he is the first person to set foot in Tianzong at the age of 30, is all nonsense. It is just a saying in the city. In the real ancient martial arts sect, some people are masters in their teens, and some people are more than 20 years old. To set foot in the Earth sect, of course, this belongs to the top geniuses." Su Shenbing said proudly, "As for your father and me, at 25, in the early days of Tianzong, there were only a handful of people in the world, so we could naturally crush that era. In the 100 sects martial arts competition that year, there were only a few people who could barely compete with me, but they were all defeated by me. But there is one person who makes me feel troublesome. That person is your mother, Shi Yuyan." Su Shenbing said with a smile, "Your mother is really strong. She is a little higher than me, and she can completely overpower me. Unfortunately, her mentality is not very good. After I teased her a few words, she broke down and started shouting. He wanted to kill me, but his rhythm was completely messed up and I knocked him off the stage." Su Yang asked doubtfully, "Dad, why are you teasing me? What did you say?" "I didn't say anything. I just praised your mother a few times, saying that she has a good figure and a big butt, and that the children she brings home will not be hungry. Then during the fight, she tried to hurt her and touched your mother." Su Shenbing recalled it, and the smile on his lips became stronger and stronger. "There is no way, I can't beat your mother, I can only change my mentality first." When Su Yang heard this, his face suddenly darkened. "Damn, I didn't expect my father to be so shameless back then." Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 290. My mother is the daughter of the Lord of Mount Tai, and she has amazing talent and strength. She must have attracted much attention back then, and she was a proud daughter of heaven. Dad, on the other hand, was like a scoundrel, fighting whenever he could, and he even took advantage of it. Su Yang could vaguely imagine what his mother's expression was like at that time. She must have hated her father to death. "Dad, you are so wicked." Su Yang couldn't help complaining. "Fuck you, you are wicked." Su Shenbing cursed and said, "If I were not immoral, could I have given birth to you? You know nothing. A woman like your mother has to do the opposite. You don't know that after that day, your mother pestered me and insisted on competing with me again. Su Shenbing smiled slightly proudly and said, I am a descendant of the Kunlun Su family, and my status is quite special. The 100 sex martial arts competition was held in Mount Tai that year. I couldn't stay for a long time, lest I be retaliated by others, so I tell your mother that if you want to compete with me, you have to leave with me and find a safe place where you can have a good fight. In the end, your mother was fooled and left Taishan with me. We both sneaked away overnight without disturbing anyone. Su Shenbing said with a smile, although your mother is very powerful and cold as ice, this is her first time sneaking down the mountain. She was startled along the way, like a rustic, etc. Hearing this, Su Yang couldn't help but ask, Dad, did you reveal your identity when you participated in the 100 sex martial arts competition? Do they know that you are a descendant of the Kunlun Su family? No. Su Shenbing said arrogantly, the reason why I went to Mount Tai to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition is to tell the ancient martial arts world that the Su family of Kunlun is back, to make them fearful, to make them panic, and to prevent my identity from being revealed. What should I do? It's just that I simply put on a silver mask so as not to affect my future life. After all, I'm still young and need to grow up, Su Shenbing added. But this isn't right. Su Yang asked with confusion on his face, Dad, since those people from the sect know that you are a descendant of the Kunlun Su family, why didn't they kill you at that time and let you go? He. Su Shenbing explained with a smile, of course it's because of the surviving master. She accompanied me to the Taishan 100 sex martial arts competition more than 20 years ago. She was present the whole time, alone, and shocked the ancient martial arts. All the top strong men in the world. No one from the major sects dared to take action against me. They could only acquiesce in allowing me to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition, and finally let me leave. Su Shenbing smiled softly and said, although I am young and frivolous, I am not a fool. If there is no way to escape, how could I foolishly run over to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition? Isn't that a sheep entering a tiger's mouth? Su Shenbing continued, in that battle back then, I was majestic, crushing all the geniuses, beating the shit out of young talents from all major sects, and killing a few blind dogs. The people behind them, my ancestors' face turned green with anger, but he didn't dare to take action against me because he was afraid of the super masters who were traveling with me. Dad is mighty, Dad is awesome. Su Yang couldn't help but praise his father, and then said, I didn't expect our Su family to have such a strong foundation. Dad, who is the surviving master? Have I seen it? She. When Su Shenbing heard this, his expression was a little complicated, and then he blamed himself, because of me, she has been disabled and lost all her martial arts skills. Now she is just an ordinary old man, taking care of herself in the Su family. Ah, this. Su Yang asked curiously, Dad, what's going on? I heard from Shihan that because of you, Mom's true energy has dissipated and disappeared from everyone. That powerful person also lost all his martial arts because of you. What's going on in you? What happened? It's a long story. Su Shenbing's expression became serious, he was lost in memories, and he said, after I took your mother to leave Mount Tai, I hid my identity all the way to Jiangbei. At that time, your grandfather Su Qincan had already made great achievements in the war. He had retired and returned to Jiangbei with a reward. And I also grew up in Jiangbei. When I participated in the 100 sex martial arts competition, the reason why I wore a silver mask was so that I could return to Jiangbei afterwards and continue to practice in hibernation. After I became a top powerhouse, I would then start the road to revenge. Su Shenbing added, although your grandfather is well known in the city, no one associates him with the Kunlun Su family, so my identity in the city is safe. After returning to Jiangbei, your mother was like Grandma Lu entering the Grand View Garden, curious about everything in the city. I can't blame her. Not every powerful ancient warrior is like this. Usually ancient warriors have the opportunity to come to the city to practice, but your mother is special. Su Shenbing continued, Shi Han has too high expectations for your mother. He hopes that his daughter will become a phoenix. He pushes your mother very hard. He practices martial arts almost all the time, so he knows nothing about the outside world. Therefore, after coming to the city, your mother was completely attracted by the prosperity of the city. She did not want to return to the place of Zen and wanted to be pure for a while. Recalling this, Su Shenbing smiled, your mother has no friends in the city. I am the only person she knows. Although she hates me, she has to beg me to take her in. Of course I didn't refuse, so under my arrangement, your mother entered school. She learned things quickly and quickly integrated into urban life. In the following time, your mother and I fell in love with each other and slowly fell in love. Su Shenbing boasted, your father and I were very powerful people back then. We often climbed over the wall to find your mother for trysts under the moonlight. Hey, now that I think about it, it's full of memories. Su Shenbing sighed. Pick up the key points, I'm not interested in hearing about your love experiences, Su Yang urged. You kid. Su Shenbing rolled his eyes at Su Yang, then got into the topic, and continued, although we hid our presence when we returned to Jiangbei and were careful, we were still discovered by someone. That person is the most powerful person in the depths of the clouds, the old poison. Su Shenbing said seriously, he raised some birds and animals and followed us all the way. He has a firm control over the whereabouts of your mother and I. But at first, the old poison seemed to be afraid of something, so he didn't take action immediately, but observed in secret. Su Shenbing gritted his teeth and said, about 3 months after the 100 sex martial arts meeting, he took action, but was repulsed by the surviving strong men of my Su family and fled. Although he didn't succeed, before he left, he gave me a strange poison, Juyin Huagong powder.